Hello and welcome everybody to our Harnessing the Power of HDX, part of our webinar demo series. My name is Evan. As you can see, I'm a solutions engineer here at MediaValet. That is a fancy way of saying that I'm here to help you, the customer or the prospective customer, ensure that the MediaValet DAM fits nicely into your existing workflows and your existing tech stack, to create that single source of truth that is ever so important to marketing and creative teams. Now, I can't easily see everyone who's here right now, but if there's anyone out there who I've worked with in the past, or if I'm currently working with you, hello, nice to see you again. Thanks for being here. And for any customers or prospective customers out there whom I haven't had the pleasure of working with so far, I hope that changes soon. And I'm also glad that you are here. So, as you probably know, we're here to chat about our new user interface, better known as the HDX or the Hot DAM experience. And this is a very exciting time for us and our customers, and also for those of you thinking about joining the MediaValet team. You couldn't have picked a better time to do so. So over the last several years, we have been gathering suggestions and feedback that we hear every day from our customers and our prospects. We've been monitoring the industry for trends, and that combined with a ton of hard work from our product and development team has led to what we're going to look at today. And that is a modern and powerful and intuitive experience for managing, accessing, and using our valuable digital assets, with the end goal of saving you and your team's time and energy that you can allocate to more high value and more enjoyable tasks in your day-to-day. Now, unfortunately, we won't have time to do a live Q&A today, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. So please do put our questions in the chat, and our team will do the best to reply as we go. Or if need be, we'll take them away and get back to you shortly after we're done. Or of course, you can feel free to reach out directly. You can reach out to myself or to your contact at MediaValet, and we're more than happy to hop onto a call with you to go through this in more detail and see how it relates to you and your teams and your use cases. Or if you're a prospective customer, feel free to reach out and we can potentially get you a trial of this as well. So before we get started, just going to let you know that we're recording this. So if you want to refer back to something, try it in real life, or if you have anyone in your team who you think would benefit from seeing this, please keep an eye out for that recording, and you can send it out as needed. So why HDX? As we all know, the need for content has absolutely exploded over the last decade, and it's really showing no signs of slowing. Quite the opposite, really, as I'm sure many of you know all too well. We're in a place where the need for, where you need time and place where we need several, if not dozens of pieces of content each and every day, or even every week or day, in ever-growing variety of file formats. Now, I'm pretty sure none of us had short-form TikTok on our bingo card as marketers 5 years ago, but here we are. So while MediaValet for over a decade now, we've always strived to solve this problem for you with speed, ease, and intuition at front of mind. We recognize that in order to keep up with your needs, we have to constantly innovate and be improving in order to arm you with the best damn ever. Sorry, I had to put at least one damn pun in there. So HDX is meant to do just that. We've added features that we'll look at today that will have a direct impact on how quickly and effectively you can execute your tasks. And the best thing about it, not to worry, you aren't going to lose any of your favorite features that you've grown accustomed to. In addition to the functional upgrades, we've also used this time to update the aesthetic, balancing the need for efficiency with the desire to present all of you lovely people with a pleasant visual experience alongside it. And of course, as mentioned earlier, please keep in mind that all these changes were driven by you, our prospects, and our customers, with the majority of changes and upgrades we make to our features were actually derived from customer requests and feedback. So please keep that coming. The most valuable thing you can do for us, if you want to give back, is provide us with your opinions and your feelings, good or bad. I have the pleasure of maintaining relationships with both customers and our product team, and I promise that they absolutely love to hear from you. They're reaching out to us every day, wondering, how the new features are, being received by the end users. So, counter to how it may seem, I'm not going to make you listen to me for this entire session. We're actually going to hop in and take a look at some of these new features. We're going to hop in and look at the new layout and the look and feel of HDX. We're going to look at how to search for assets more easily than ever, including a couple fancy and powerful new AI features. And then we'll finish off by looking at distribution. So let's hop in and take a look. Oops. All right, so most of you will recognize this is in fact MediaValet. And as hopefully many of you will recognize, this is in fact HDX. For those of you who haven't seen this before, if you're an existing customer, come on over. This is available to you in your libraries today. You can access it in the top right corner of your screen where it says try HDX, and you can come in and test these features out yourselves with your assets in your libraries. For prospective customers who have attended this today, if you haven't seen this, do reach out either to myself or your contact at MediaValet, and we'll give you a catered look at how this can affect you and your teams. And again, as mentioned earlier, potentially set up a demo so you can take it for a drive yourself. All right, so as you can see, when it comes to the layout, we have maintained the familiar folder structure that we've all grown accustomed to throughout our lives working with computers, categories, as we refer to them in MediaValet. But due to popular demand, we actually can now minimize that away and make assets the focus. We also have our action bar even further to the left here, where we can access all the bells and whistles when it comes to using and distributing our assets. But again, we can minimize that away as well if we want to make the assets the star of the show, as we know they are. When it comes to the display, you can see the familiar tile view here that we all probably spend most of our time in. We can change the size of our assets if we want to work that way. And we can obviously change the number of assets that are displayed on each page here. I personally really like the list view. So this gives us the ability to look at our assets in a list with a small preview, and then also with a lot of valuable information. So that metadata is displayed as well. So we can see either on the individual asset, what metadata is relevant to us, or we can compare assets as well if that's what we need to do. And to add to that, we can actually, on a user-by-user basis, modify what metadata fields or custom attributes are shown here in these columns based on all of the metadata within the system, including those valuable custom attributes that we worked so hard to add to the system in order to display, information specific to our organization. Now, when we select an asset, you'll notice we have a helpful window that pops up on the right, gives us a slightly larger view of our asset if that's what we're looking for, but also presents us with some information. So we have general info about the asset. We have the categories which it's tagged to, where we can actually add additional categories with a few clicks of a button, which is very handy. We can also access all of the metadata attached to this asset. So that includes the general metadata, which is going to apply to all assets in the system. And then again, that custom metadata or those custom attributes that we've decided apply to our assets and to our organization that just add the extra value to those assets, extra information that's relevant, and improve discoverability as well. We can also access a couple of the features, such as proofing and people here, if we like to. We can quick share or quick download, and also quickly add additional metadata, keywords, and categories. And if we need to, we can view it in a full screen view where we can toggle on and off the detailed window that we just went over. So once we have an idea here of how to navigate, we can also use our keys, which is very handy. So we can navigate with the keyboard, hit enter, and quickly check out either the asset or the information, whatever it is we're looking for. We can select entire pages and multiple pages, which is great. And of course, we can select assets using the shift bar if there's just a certain section of assets that we wanted to select here. And from there, once we have the assets selected, as you may have noticed at the bottom, we have a quick action bar that's popped up that allows us, again, to share in a few ways, download our assets, add metadata in bulk, or add to collections, which is something we'll circle back to in a little bit there. All right, so once we have an idea of how to navigate and access assets, access information about assets, let's take a look at how we can now search. As we mentioned, our asset libraries are growing at a rapid pace, and we want to be able to find those assets easily for initial use or for reuse down the road, increasing the ROI of our assets. So our search by default is powered by metadata. So that means whatever search terms I add into this search bar are going to pull assets with that metadata attached. So if I search for animal, it's now scanned the system for every single asset that contains animals or animal as metadata. So that includes the cognitive metadata that's applied automatically via AI during upload. It includes custom metadata that myself and my team will have added to assets during upload or after. It could be embedded metadata from stock, such as Adobe, or also any spoken word in these videos here, or written text also will be picked up as metadata. We can take it one step further and use a Boolean search here. Look for assets that have animals and water. Or we can broaden our search and use or, so we can have either water or animals in our photos here. And then you also may have noticed, as soon as I engaged with a search, I hit enter, I was presented with some filters here. And that is because the system will automatically bring me to my advanced search right there. This gives me the ability to search based on all metadata fields within the system, every single one. So I can now filter by things such as, which categories am I looking within? What file types am I looking for? When were the assets uploaded? What's the status? And my personal favorite is our custom attributes. So all those valuable metadata fields we decided to add in that are relevant to us and our teams can also be filtered upon. So now from 240 assets, I can find out which ones are approved for social use for my teams. And we're now down to a much more manageable number. And we also know that these are the assets approved for social. There are going to be instances where we want to do this the opposite direction. So we want to start with tags and then potentially find assets that way. So let's imagine in this instance, I'm looking for assets uploaded by a particular photographer who I've granted access to the DAM to upload. I can go uploaded by, and I can see that Luke Skywalker is uploading some assets into my system. And there we have it, all the assets that have been uploaded by this photographer. You will notice here we have some statuses that are being shown to us, a little couple flags. So these assets are pending. They're not yet approved into the DAM, so we don't want these. Let's imagine I'm trying to make a social media post, and these ones here have actually been rejected altogether. So let's just filter by only approved assets. We also have an asset here that's not a photo. We're not going to post that on social, so let's change the file type just to our images. And then finally, I want to know which of these are approved for social use. So we'll go to approved for social. And there we go. We now have all of the assets uploaded by Luke Skywalker that are approved for social use here. Now, as you can see, this gets very granular. Gives me the ability to search. I can add 5, 10, 20 filters. I can go from thousands of assets to just a couple that I need for my specific use case. But that can be somewhat time consuming if we have to do it, multiple times a day, day after day. So what we've done is presented the ability to save searches here. So if we hit save, I can now keep this search for tomorrow or the next day, where I can always come back to this same group of assets. So let's say that these are Luke's photos, Luke's pics. Then when I come back to my system tomorrow, I want to go to my advanced search. And I can just a click of a button be back at those same assets that I saved yesterday. Another valuable thing about this is that I can share it with my teams. So let's imagine that I was working with my team for a campaign, and it's my job to curate the assets that we're going to use. And I've done all the work to put the search together. I can now share this with individual users or entire groups so they can all access these photos. And to take it one step farther, this is actually a living, breathing search, which means if Luke was to upload more photos, or if I was to approve those ones in pending, then tomorrow, this will have new assets in it. Or if we were to use one of these photos in a social media post and we don't want to use it anymore and we removed it from approved for social, it won't be here anymore either. So we're always going to have the assets that we need for this particular use case. All right, that's a lot on search for now. Let's take a quick pause. We'll come back. I just want to look at another cool AI feature in HDX, and that's our people feature. So what's happening here is as soon as assets are uploaded into the system, it's going to recognize if there are people in the photos. So as you can see, it is identified for me 155 people in assets and grouped those assets together. So there's, 6 for these individuals, 5 for these, so on and so forth. And it has them first as unidentified because the system isn't going to assume who these individuals are. It's up to us to name them, but we have the ability to do so. And once we do, those individuals will be moved into our identified section where we can manage our people. So this is very valuable for instances where, let's say, John Smith was a model that we were using in our marketing materials and the usage rights have expired. Or if he was an employee and decided to move on and we no longer want to use content of his, we can select the entire page and with a couple clicks, deactivate these assets, either remove them or expire them, pulling it from all locations, all categories, branded portals, endpoints on the web if we're using CDN, really ensuring, one, saving us a ton of time from having to go to all these places, and two, removing the margin for error there. A couple other cool pieces about Face that I wanted to touch on. These are actually real life testing we've been doing for customers recently. The first is aging. So you may have noticed the Ageless Wonder Michael Caine here in my library. Side note, I'm not sure if anyone here thought of this Michael Caine as young Michael Caine. For me, that's what I thought of. But in this research, I found out that that is in fact middle to later elder age Michael Caine, whereas the young Michael Caines are here. But luckily, the system was smart enough to know. And without us lifting a finger, it knew that these were all, in fact, the same person just from upload. And I will point out this bottom one here. You'll see shadow, glasses, and objects in front of the face, and it was still able to identify this as Michael Caine. The second was cartoons. So we have a customer who was using their own proprietary artwork for some of their marketing and advertising, and they're wondering if it will pick up cartoon faces. And the answer is yes. If we start with a good face model, it's going to be able to identify cartoons as well. Now let's spin back over here to search and chat about the newest enhancement. So as you already saw, the metadata-based search is extremely powerful on its own, but the people on our product team, that wasn't good enough for them, so they took it one step farther and introduced something that you may have heard about. If not, you're in for a treat, our smart image search. So what this is a search that no longer relies on metadata. It allows individuals to search for very specific or very vague concepts and still pull results, and they don't have to have any understanding of how metadata works or the metadata that exists on our assets. So as an example, let me rack my brain for something that's very specific and out there. Donkey riding a bike. And I'm going to search from the metadata perspective. Now, we're not going to have any assets appear because I haven't tagged donkey riding a bike as metadata, surprisingly. We probably could find our way to it via, some filters or using Boolean, right, or commas. But it's much easier to just let users use smart image search. So I'm going to click this, and the system's now going to scan every asset in the system for specifically what I'm asking for. And there we have it. As you can see, we do, in fact, lo and behold, have some assets of donkeys riding bikes in this library here. From here, we can also incorporate metadata, use both of these powerful features in conjunction. So I'll go to my custom attributes and find out which donkeys I can post on social media. And there we have it. We have 4 of these. Pretty handy. Now, I'm not sure if there's any sloppy typers in the crowd today, but I know, no one's perfect. So there may be times where we make a spelling mistake or two, and the system, smart image search, will see right through that. And, as we talk about, the globalization and the distribution of teams and working globally, we may have individuals who like to search in their native tongue. So if we're looking for en faisant du vélo in French, those individuals will also be able to find donkeys riding bikes. So let's test something out, a different example altogether here. So I'm going to clear my filters, and I'm going to search for something contextual. Some college student. And as you'll see, the system is going to know that these people are in fact college students. They're not just regular people walking around. They're all on campuses with books or computers. Also, they're not elementary school students. They're a little bit older in age, right? We can also add a more specific concept. So let's say they're studying for a test, not just being students. And as we can see, now they're, over their laptops, biting their pens in classrooms. Another form of search that can throw a wrench in the gears of metadata search is synonyms. So if we were to switch to freshman, if we don't have freshman tagged, this may disrupt our results. But again, the system knows, college student, freshman student are kind of one and the same there. Okay, now let's think about using a couple of these AI features in conjunction. So let's try a new search. We're going to try a male professional with colleagues. Now, the search is going to pick up, of course, colleagues working together. There's at least one male in most of these. But let's say we're looking for a specific male. So we can go to our people and images, as we were looking at just a moment ago, and see, do we have any assets, with John Smith and colleagues? And there we go. We can now find, John with his colleagues in our assets here. Now, we already talked about saving a search, but as promised, let's circle back to collections here. So if I'm going to select these pages here, we can look at what collections are. Now, these are extremely powerful. We have to keep in mind that when it comes to our taxonomy, our category structure, we don't necessarily want everyone to have the ability to manipulate this. We work very hard in our taxonomy. Usually there's an onboarding phase where we work with our onboarding managers, and it's very thought out. It's meant to keep integrity for our whole digital asset management strategy. So if every single person in the company can come in and add a folder or a category as they need to, which we're all used to doing on our local machines, that'll make things messy. It's probably part of the reason why you ended up with MediaValet and a DAM in the first place. But at the same time, we want to promote the use of assets. We want to enable our users to, grab assets and use them, and, give them places to gather and collaborate. So that's what collections are. It gives users the ability to do what I just did, perform a search, find some specific assets that they need to do their job, and then place them into a collection. So we can put these into John's photos here. And then these collections can be kept for yourself, of course, for your own personal use, or we can also use these as collaboration tools. So I have John's photos here, and I can now share these out to team members, either internal or external. I can give them the ability to, view collections or just add and remove assets as well. And there we go. We have another way that we can collaborate, with our teams without compromising the integrity of our taxonomy. So moving on, just to the last piece here that I was hoping to discuss when it comes to distribution and HDX is something that may be familiar to everybody here is our branded portals. So it's kind of going full circle. We're learning how to access assets and manage them within HDX and part of the asset lifecycle. And now we want to distribute our assets. So for everyone here who is not familiar, branded portals are essentially external-facing microsites. They allow you to distribute large groups of assets to large groups of people, especially groups who we don't necessarily know who they are. We don't have to select each individual person who we're sharing to. So a perfect example is after an event. We use them after DAM week and potentially after webinars as a way we distribute the assets to larger audiences. So I have gone ahead and built a portal here as an example for an imaginary coffee company looking to distribute their assets to their distributors and their retailers. So again, very simple. I built this in just a few minutes, zero code, even I can do it. You can add a logo, a title, a description, and then we can build out categories as well here, sections we call them, where we can start to add assets from MediaValet. So I have added in some lifestyle photos. I've added into product shots, and I also like to use a section for more information because we can add text and hyperlink out to external locations as well. You'll notice here, these little icons are indicating that these are linked to areas in my DAM, either collections or categories. Extremely powerful feature because it allows us to maintain a live connection between this section and the lifestyle category in MediaValet, meaning that if I update that category, I'm updating this section. And so if I, expire an asset, or if I remove or add a new asset, it's automatically going to be portrayed here. And then of course, onto the recipient of these assets, which allows us to, again, save huge amounts of time by maintaining those assets only in the DAM rather than in multiple places. From here, I can go ahead and hit next. Couple options, we can allow download or not, require an access key, and a couple search options. We can modify the URL, and then we can publish this as well, and I'll show you how it looks to the end user. And there we have it. So now, we have gone ahead and looked at how we can, manage our assets in HDX, how we can find them. And then once we've found them, curated them into the group that we need them to be in, we can distribute them easily with our portals. And that is about everything we were going to look at today.